So it's that time of the week where we unpack all the goings on where British wildlife is concerned. And you probably won't be too surprised by me telling you that quite a lot has happened over the last week or so. This week, we're looking at the vet group calling for badgers to be gassed, the news that DEFRA has been having off-the-record meetings with the NFU, and a tragic incident involving a hound from the furlough hunt. Right, let's start with something that is just utterly bonkers, to be honest, and that's a recent investigation conducted by Protect the Wild that uncovered how a vet group wants to see the legalisation of fox hunting and bringing back the gassing of badgers. Yes, actual veterinarians who you'd think would be focusing on protecting animals, yet it turns out that this particular group has been lobbying behind the scenes for years for the badger cull to continue. The vet group is called the Veterinary Association for Wildlife Management, VAWM, a fancy name for what used to be called Vets for Hunting, as the group actually started out as a pro-hunting outfit, and to this day, many of its members still have strong links to fox hunting, blood sports, and culling of wildlife. Their chairman, David Rennie, hunts, races horses, and is part of a pro-hunting lobby group trying to get hunting recognised as a protected minority under the Equality Act. You won't be too surprised to hear then that in the early 2000s, the group fought hard to prevent fox hunting from being legalised, arguing that a hunting ban would effectively be a death sentence for foxhounds and would result in what they described as a wholesale slaughter of hounds countrywide. Of course, this wholesale slaughter of hounds never materialised, despite the hunting ban going through in 2004. As well as their vile pro-hunting stance, another one of the vet group's key demands is even more badger killing. The government has, of course, already slaughtered over 200,000 badgers since 2013, despite the science repeatedly showing that culling has little to no impact on bovine TB. But VAWM claims the policy doesn't even go far enough. In fact, they don't just want more culling, they've suggested bringing back the gassing of badgers in their sets. The method that was banned decades ago because, well, quite rightly, it was horrifically inhumane, but a method that was also backed by Princess Anne a decade ago.
Most of the people who did it in the past will tell you that gas is a much nicer way of doing it, if that's not a silly expression, because of the way it works. And how it works is that you go to sleep, basically.
Mental, isn't it? If people like her and this vet group had it their way, we'd be seeing scenes like this play out across the country yet again. And here's the kicker: despite claiming to care about animal welfare, VAWM is weirdly silent when it comes to bird shooting, where literally millions of birds are wounded rather than killed outright for so-called sport. This is a really insightful clip where a former shooter opens up quite honestly about the cruelty inflicted on pheasants during a shoot.
That birds get shot, and most of them, no, I won't say most of them, that is not correct. A high proportion of the birds are not killed. Now, this is my problem.
They're injured, okay.
Yesterday, I came across a pheasant dragging its wings along the ground. I was out with my dogs. I didn't have a shotgun with me. I don't shoot anymore. I came across a pheasant dragging its wings along the ground, unable to fly because somebody had shot it and not killed it. 2 days previously, I came across a pheasant with its entrails dragging along the ground and rolling and obviously in agony because somebody had shot it and not killed it.
They're obsessed with badgers, obsessed with foxes, but when it comes to the cruelty of the shooting industry, complete silence. At a time when British wildlife is already on its knees, we have groups like this pushing for yet more killing under the guise of management. It's just disgusting, and we'll continue to expose groups like this one that are hell-bent on the suffering of wildlife. Next up is the second of our investigative findings relating to the badger cull. Badgercoll, this time concerning the relationship between DEFRA and farming lobbyists. Now, cast your mind back a few months, and Keir Starmer claimed that rebuilding public trust would define his government. But now, new revelations about secretive meetings on the Badgercoll suggest otherwise. A Freedom of Information request submitted by ourselves at Protect the Wild found that Labour ministers met with farming industry representatives 3 times to discuss the Badgercoll between July 2024 and January of this year, but DEFRA claimed no formal minutes were taken, so these minutes were effectively off the record, leaving the public completely in the dark about what was actually discussed in these meetings. Oh, what a lovely and wonderful democracy it is that we live in. This isn't an isolated case either. DEFRA pulled the exact same stunt when asked about their meetings with water companies, refusing to release any minutes. Of course, this raises serious concerns about who the government is really working for, the public or corporate interests. I'll let you make your mind up on that one. Labour promised to end the Badgercoll, calling it ineffective. Instead, they've extended it, approving new coal zones and licensing the killing of over 10,000 more badgers in 2024. The coal could now continue until 2029 despite overwhelming public opposition. Meanwhile, the National Farmers Union has had extraordinary access to Labour ministers. The NFU president met Steve Reed just 72 hours after he became DEFRA secretary, and farming lobbyists have pushed openly for culling to continue. If Starmer's government is indeed serious about earning public trust, hiding meetings and siding with industry over science clearly isn't the way to go about it. Labour have had a clear mandate for change, but when it comes to wildlife, they're proving to be just as bad as their predecessors. We will, of course, be continuing to send Freedom of Information requests to DEFRA, asking for all communications and meetings between government officials and those supporting the senseless Badgercoll. And I will, of course, keep you updated on our findings. Now for our final story this week, another grim reminder of the cruelty of hunting. On January 23rd, while saboteurs were monitoring the furlough hunt, they witnessed a devastating incident where a foxhound was fatally injured after being kicked in the head by a hunt horse. Distressing footage from North London hunt saboteurs shows the injured hound struggling to stand before collapsing again. I've decided against showing too much from the actual video itself as it's just so upsetting to watch. Instead of rushing the dog to urgent veterinary care, a huntsman simply removed them on a quad bike, and the hunt has yet to confirm the fate of the hound. But vets consulted by Protect the Wild believe the injuries were almost certainly fatal, with it likely that the hound suffered brain damage as a result of the tragic incident. Let's be totally clear, this is not a one-off incident either. Protect the Wild has already recorded over 500 foxhound welfare incidents this hunting season alone, including hounds being hit by cars, trains, horses, and suffering visible injuries at hunt meets. These dogs are treated as disposable tools, bred for hunting and discarded when injured or unfit, and more often than not, simply shot in the head when they're no longer useful, as our undercover investigation of one of the most prestigious hunts in the country proved.
These hounds are nothing but working animals to this hunt. They're tools, and when they're not fit for purpose, not strong enough, not fit enough to keep up with the pack, they're brutally shot in the head and killed and thrown away like garbage. And it's utterly disgusting. It's morally indefensible.
Hunting hounds are hard-working, and as the Beaufort Hunt told us, managing the end of their life is not as simple as it seems. Occasionally, hounds are successfully retired as domestic pets, but they are not house-trained and have only ever been used to living in a pack environment, so the majority are unfortunately unsuitable for rehoming. Where other options are not available, hounds are humanely euthanized.
How they argue that a bullet to the head is humane is anyone's guess, especially when the footage we obtained showed the tail of one hound still wagging, leading to the hunt worker firing a second bullet at the poor dog. For obvious reasons, I won't be playing this footage as it's an incredibly hard watch. It's laughable then that the British Hound Sports Association continues to claim that they prioritise hound welfare, when the reality is that these animals are tools for the thrill of chasing foxes and other wild mammals. Hunts argue against a hunting ban, claiming it would leave foxhounds with uncertain futures, but conveniently ignore the fact that they already kill countless hounds when they're no longer needed. As well as our own undercover investigation, the energy company Ecotricity also released shocking footage a few years ago in which puppies and adult dogs from hunts deemed unsuitable for hunting were shot dead and thrown in bins that are then taken to power stations to generate energy for British homes. This poor hound's experience was entirely preventable. They, like thousands of others, were placed in dangerous and cruel situations by those who claim to care about animals. Foxhounds are no different from any other dog. They deserve safety, love, and a home. If you care about all animals, it's time to demand change. Hunts must stop treating hounds as disposable, stop their barbaric practices, and commit to rehoming these incredible animals, because no dog deserves to die for blood sports. Thanks for watching another episode of the Weekly Recap. I'll be back next week to unpack all the latest news concerning British wildlife. I do hope you'll join me for that one.